go.
Take your hand off.
I will.
Take your hand off the gun.
But you.
A MARTA police sergeant is in the hospital after police say her ex-boyfriend viciously attacked her while she was on duty.
She was able to finally fight him off, not before having to pull the trigger.
January 30th, 2023, a police parking lot in Atlanta, Georgia. The last words came from Sergeant Cheryl Lashai Clark, a 15-year officer with the MARTA police force. She's on duty. Her hand is gripping her service weapon. She's talking to Cleveland Lambert, her ex-boyfriend. Moments later, Lambert tries to leave. He runs to his car and drives away. Then Clark fires. 8 shots. 3 bullets strike Lambert in the back as he's fleeing. The official story? Lambert attacked the officer. He beat her. He tried to steal her gun. She shot him in self-defense. But the body camera tells a completely different story. Despite the video evidence, Clark faces no criminal charges. Lambert sits in jail, charged with assaulting a police officer. His bond is set at $200,000. He can't pay it. His medical bills are over $400,000. He has permanent damage to his left arm. How does the victim become the criminal when everything is caught on camera? Welcome to our channel. Right now, there are thousands of people like Cleveland Lambert who are trapped in relationships with partners who hold power over them, whether it's a badge, a gun, or the authority to destroy their lives with a single phone call. If you want to help spread awareness about abuse of power and coercive control in relationships with law enforcement, then please like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Your action now could help protect someone who might be in danger and doesn't know where to turn. Now let's go back to where this all started. 6 months before that January night, Cleveland Lambert walked out of Georgia State Prison. He was 38 years old. He had served his sentence and was starting over. Lambert moved in with his sister in East Atlanta. Every morning at 5 a.m., he took the MARTA train downtown. He filled out job applications at construction sites, warehouses, and restaurants. Anywhere that would hire someone with a criminal record. Cheryl Lashai Clark had been with MARTA police for 15 years. By 2023, she held the rank of sergeant and earned approximately $68,000 a year. Clark worked the Public Transit Patrol Division. In October 2022, she requested a transfer to the night shift at 5 Points Station. 5 Points was MARTA's most dangerous post. Drug deals, assaults, and occasional shootings happened regularly. Most officers transferred out after 6 months because the stress was too much. Clark specifically asked to work there, and she asked to stay longer than the standard rotation. On paper, her record looked clean. She had multiple commendations for excellence. Colleagues described her as a dedicated officer. But there was another side to Cheryl Clark that wasn't in the official reports. During her 15 years with MARTA, 3 complaints had been filed against her. 2 of those complaints were for excessive use of force. The 3rd complaint, filed in 2019, involved harassment of a former boyfriend. All 3 complaints were investigated and closed. No disciplinary action was ever taken against Clark. This pattern mattered. Complaints involving force and personal relationships. Yet she remained on active duty, fully armed, with the authority to make arrests and use deadly force. There was something else Clark was hiding. She was married, but she was also having an affair with Cleveland Lambert, an ex-convict. MARTA policy clearly forbids officers from having contact with known felons. Clark violated that policy repeatedly. She used her position to maintain control over the relationship. She worked the stations Lambert used for his daily commute. She knew his routes. She had the power of a badge and a gun. When Lambert tried to distance himself from her, Clark didn't accept it. She had his phone number. She knew where he lived. She knew his schedule. And she had something else she could use to pull him back in: money. Clark owed Lambert $1,000. That debt gave her a reason to contact him, a reason to demand that he meet her. On the evening of January 30th, 2023, Clark called Lambert. She told him she was ready to pay him back. She told him exactly where to meet her: the employee parking lot near MARTA headquarters, her territory. The affair between Cheryl Clark and Cleveland Lambert was a secret. Clark's husband didn't know. Her colleagues at MARTA didn't know. She kept it hidden from everyone. But by early 2023, Lambert wanted out. He started avoiding 5 Point Station, even though it was the fastest route home from work. He added 20 minutes to his commute just to stay away from Clark. He stopped answering some of her calls. He was trying to create distance. Clark wasn't letting go that easily. She had leverage. She owed Lambert $1,000. For someone washing dishes at $7.25 an hour, $1,000 was significant money. Lambert needed it. He was sending money to his mother. He was barely getting by. Clark knew this. The debt became her excuse to force contact with him. On January 30th, 2023, at 9:06 p.m., security cameras captured Clark's marked MARTA patrol car pulling into the corner of the employee parking lot. She was on duty. She was in uniform. Her service weapon, a Glock 17 loaded with 17 rounds, was in her holster. She parked and waited. At 9:15 p.m., Lambert's car entered the lot. He parked and got out of his vehicle. The cameras show him walking toward Clark's patrol car. His hands are empty. He's not carrying a weapon. He's not carrying anything. He approaches the driver's side of her vehicle. According to MARTA policy, officers must activate their body cameras during any contact with civilians. Clark's body camera was recording. What happened next was captured on video. But the official story Clark would tell later painted a very different picture than what the footage actually shows. Lambert thought he was there to collect money he was owed. Instead, he was walking into a trap. The footage from that night shows something disturbing. The audio captures Clark's voice.
I'm yours. I am. You can me right. You can me right now. Okay. Show me. Let's go. Prove it to me. Let's go.
She's propositioning Lambert sexually while on duty in a police parking lot, and her hand is on her gun. Lambert's voice comes through clearly on the recording.
Take your hand off.
I will.
Take your hand off the gun.
But you have to pull my pants down.
Okay, take your hand off the gun.
Stop.
Take your hand off the gun.
Then her tone changes. Stop. That's what I'm... If you don't take your hand off the gun, you is going to get shot. The footage shows a physical struggle. Lambert appears to be trying to keep Clark's hand away from her service weapon. She's yelling for him to stop, but at the same time, she's still making sexual advances. The situation is tense, confusing. The audio is difficult to follow because both of them are talking over each other. But what happens next is crystal clear. Lambert breaks away from Clark. He turns and runs back to his vehicle. He gets inside his car. He starts the engine. He's leaving. He's driving away. At this point, Lambert is no longer engaged in any physical contact with Clark. He's not attacking her. He's not reaching for her weapon. He's fleeing the scene. And that's when Cheryl Clark opens fire. 8 shots. Forensic experts later reconstructed the sequence of the shooting. The first 2 rounds strike near Lambert's vehicle, close to his feet. The next 3 bullets hit him as he's turning or as the car begins to move. The final 3 bullets enter his back. The entry wounds show downward angles. This means Clark was standing upright while Lambert was either falling, crouched, or bent forward in the driver's seat. 3 bullets in the back. That's the key evidence. Lambert's car swerves. He's been hit. But he keeps driving. He makes it several blocks before crashing at the intersection of Dakar and Bell Streets. Clark immediately gets on her radio. Parking lot. Employee parking lot. Officers respond within minutes. When they arrive, Clark tells them Lambert attacked her. She says he beat her about the face and hands. She says he tried to take her gun. She says she had no choice but to fire. The responding officers treat Clark as the victim. They ask where she's hurt. She points to her left arm, her nose, her face. Paramedics arrive. They check her injuries. She's taken to Grady Memorial Hospital for a CT scan and X-rays. Meanwhile, other officers find Lambert's crashed vehicle several blocks away. He's inside, bleeding. He's alive, but badly injured. They pull him from the car and place him under arrest. Lambert is transported to Grady Memorial Hospital with gunshot wounds. He's taken into emergency surgery. The initial news reports frame the incident exactly as Clark described it. A dangerous ex-boyfriend attacked a female police officer while she was on duty. She defended herself. She shot him during the struggle. He fled and crashed. He was arrested. Lambert is formally charged with aggravated assault on a police officer, battery, and attempting to disarm a law enforcement officer. These charges carry a potential sentence of up to 20 years in prison. His bond is set at $200,000. He can't afford to pay it. Clark and Lambert were taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. Clark received CT scans and X-rays for her injuries. She was treated and released the same night. Lambert was rushed into emergency surgery. 3 bullets had struck him. 1 shattered bones in his left arm. The damage was severe. Doctors worked to save his arm and stop the internal bleeding. Lambert survived the surgery, but the injuries left him with partial paralysis in his left arm. He would live with chronic pain for the rest of his life. His medical bills exceeded $400,000. His bond was set at $200,000. For a man who had been washing dishes at $7.25 an hour, that amount was impossible to pay. Lambert remained in custody. He couldn't afford bail. He couldn't afford a private attorney. He was assigned a public defender. Cheryl Clark, on the other hand, was placed on paid administrative leave. This is standard procedure when an officer is involved in a shooting. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation would review the case to determine if the use of force was justified. During this time, Clark continued to receive her full salary, approximately $68,000 per year. So let's be clear about where things stood in the immediate aftermath. Lambert was in jail, facing 20 years in prison with a bond he couldn't pay and medical bills he could never afford. He had permanent damage to his arm and would live in pain every day. Clark was at home, on paid leave, collecting her full paycheck while investigators reviewed the case. The official story released to the media supported Clark's version of events. News outlets reported that a MARTA police sergeant had been viciously attacked by her ex-boyfriend while on duty. She fought him off and was forced to shoot him in self-defense. He fled in a vehicle, crashed, and was arrested. Lambert was described as a dangerous ex-convict who assaulted a police officer. Clark was described as a brave officer who defended herself, but the body camera footage told a completely different story, and soon, that footage would begin to leak. The initial news coverage repeated the police narrative word for word. Headlines read, "MARTA Sergeant shoots dangerous ex-boyfriend in self-defense." TV news reports described it this way: a female officer was attacked while on duty and was forced to defend herself. Lambert was portrayed as a violent ex-convict who beat a cop and tried to steal her gun. The public accepted the story. There was no reason not to. A police officer had been attacked. She defended herself. Case closed. But then the body camera footage began to leak. Clips appeared on social media. People started watching, and what they saw didn't match the official story at all. They heard Clark making sexual propositions to Lambert while her hand was on her gun. They saw Lambert repeatedly asking her to take her hand off the weapon. They watched him break away and run to his car. They saw him drive away. And then they heard 8 gunshots. 3 bullets entered Lambert's back. Public reaction was split. Some people pointed to the initial struggle. They argued that Clark had reason to fear for her safety. Lambert was on top of her at one point. She was heard saying stop. In that moment, she may have genuinely felt threatened. Others pointed to what happened after the struggle. Once Lambert got in his car and started driving away, he was no longer a threat. Shooting a fleeing, unarmed person in the back is not self-defense. Legal experts weighed in. They explained that under standard use of force guidelines, deadly force is only justified when a suspect poses an imminent threat. Once a person is running away or driving away, they're no longer an imminent threat to the officer's life. The body camera footage should have changed everything. But it didn't. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation completed its review of the shooting. The case was then forwarded to Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis. On February 2, 2023, just 3 days after the shooting, prosecutors made their decision. No charges would be filed against Cheryl Clark. The official statement read, "We cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Sergeant Clark's use of force was unlawful. The victim's own criminal actions precipitated the incident." They cited Lambert's criminal actions as the reason for the shooting, but they never specified what those actions were. The body camera footage showed Lambert fleeing. It showed 3 bullets entering his back. It captured Clark making sexual propositions while gripping her weapon. It documented a meeting she had arranged by promising to repay money she owed. None of that mattered. Georgia law gives police officers broad protection when they claim they felt threatened. If an officer can articulate that they believed they were in danger at any point during an encounter, prosecutors face an extremely high burden of proof. They must show beyond a reasonable doubt that the officer's belief was unreasonable. Even with video evidence showing a man being shot in the back as he drove away, that standard is difficult to meet. Legal experts and civil rights advocates expressed outrage at the decision. They pointed out that once Lambert was in his vehicle and leaving, he no longer posed an imminent threat. Shooting him at that point was not self-defense, but the decision stood. This case fits into a larger, disturbing pattern. According to a Department of Justice study, 40% of police officers admit to using violence in their personal relationships. That's 4 times higher than the national average for the general population. Yet consequences for officers who engage in violence against romantic partners remain rare. Since 2020, there have been 17 documented cases across the country where police officers used their position and authority to control, follow, or harm current or former romantic partners. Of those 17 cases, only 2 resulted in criminal convictions. Cheryl Clark's case fits this pattern perfectly. She had a history of complaints, 2 for excessive force, 1 for harassing a former boyfriend. All were closed without discipline. She violated department policy by maintaining contact with a known felon. She used her position to control Lambert, working the stations he used, knowing his routes. She lured him to a secluded police parking lot under the pretense of repaying a debt. She shot him as he tried to leave. And she faced no criminal charges. The system protected the badge instead of pursuing justice. Lambert remained in jail, unable to pay his $200,000 bond, facing up to 20 years in prison. The body camera footage existed. The forensic evidence existed. The truth was documented, but none of it was enough to bring criminal charges against a police officer. While prosecutors declined to file criminal charges, MARTA launched its own internal investigation. Clark remained on paid administrative leave. She continued to receive her full salary of approximately $68,000 per year. This went on for over a year. Finally, in March 2024, more than a year after the shooting, MARTA made its decision. Cheryl Clark was terminated from her position. The reason given was violation of department policy. MARTA never publicly disclosed which specific policy she violated. The details of the internal investigation remained confidential, but the likely violations were clear. MARTA policy forbids officers from having contact with known felons. Clark had been in a relationship with Lambert, an ex-convict. She misused her authority by arranging to meet him in a police parking lot while on duty, and there was the shooting itself. But these were internal, administrative matters, not criminal ones. Criminally, Cheryl Clark faced nothing. No arrest, no charges, no conviction. Let's look at what Clark's consequences actually were. She lost her job. That's it. She collected her full salary for over a year while the investigation dragged on. Then, she walked away with no criminal record. Now let's look at Cleveland Lambert's reality. He remained in custody, unable to pay his $200,000 bond. He was still awaiting trial on charges of aggravated assault on a police officer, battery, and attempting to disarm a law enforcement officer. He faced up to 20 years in prison. His medical bills exceeded $400,000. He had permanent disability in his left arm with partial paralysis. He would live with chronic pain for the rest of his life. One person lost their job. The other person lost their freedom, their health, and their future. The body camera footage captured everything. The truth was documented. But the outcomes remained unchanged. If the body camera footage had never existed, Lambert would be serving 20 years in prison right now based solely on Clark's testimony. The truth would have died in that parking lot. The footage saved him from that fate. But it didn't save him from being charged with assaulting a police officer. It didn't save him from sitting in jail for over a year, awaiting trial. It didn't save him from $400,000 in medical debt. It didn't save him from permanent disability and chronic pain. And it didn't result in any criminal charges against the person who shot him 3 times in the back. The evidence is clear. The body camera captured everything. But justice was never served. According to a Department of Justice study, 40% of police officers admit to using violence in their personal relationships. That's 4 times higher than the general population. Yet consequences for these officers remain rare. Departments typically handle these situations internally. Officers are placed on leave. Sometimes they're terminated, but they're rarely prosecuted. This is often called the blue wall of protection. Body camera footage can be sealed indefinitely during investigations. Internal reviews remain confidential. The system is structured to protect officers even when evidence suggests they acted improperly. Cheryl Clark's history showed the warning signs. She had 3 prior complaints filed against her during her 15 years with MARTA police. 2 were for excessive use of force. 1 was for harassing a former boyfriend in 2019. All 3 complaints were investigated and closed. No disciplinary action was ever taken. The pattern was there. No one acted on it. Clevin Lambert paid the price for that failure, but this raises bigger questions. How many other officers out there have similar complaint histories? How many victims never get their stories told because there's no body camera footage? How many officers with documented patterns of violence in their personal relationships continue to carry badges and guns? Since 2020, 17 cases have been documented where officers used their position to harm current or former romantic partners. Only 2 of those cases resulted in criminal convictions. So what can be done to prevent cases like this? If you're in a relationship with a law enforcement officer, recognize the signs of coercive control. When one partner holds institutional power, a badge, a gun, legal authority, and the other is vulnerable, the power imbalance can be dangerous. Red flags include threats tied to their power, insisting on secluded meetings and leveraging debts or secrets to force contact. Document everything. Save texts, record calls if legal in your state, and keep records of meetings. If you feel unsafe, file restraining orders through external agencies, not their department. Seek support from specialized hotlines and legal aid organizations for partners of law enforcement. For policy reform, we need stricter oversight. Officers accused of violence involving partners should face immediate unpaid suspension. Independent civilian review boards should have subpoena power for body camera footage. Body cameras should upload footage in real time to third-party servers with automatic release in shootings. Public complaint databases should exist to expose patterns before they turn deadly. Special prosecutors should handle all police-involved cases to avoid conflicts of interest. For viewers, stay informed. Cases like this need attention. Demand transparency through public records requests. Support reform by contacting local representatives. Film police encounters when safe to do so. Report misconduct through anonymous tip lines. Badges don't excuse violence. Officers who abuse power must face the same consequences as everyone else. As of now, Clevin Lambert remains in custody. His trial has been repeatedly postponed. He still faces up to 20 years in prison on charges of aggravated assault on a police officer, battery, and attempting to disarm a law enforcement officer. His attorneys have indicated plans to file a civil lawsuit against both Cheryl Clark and MARTA. Civil court operates differently than criminal court. The burden of proof is lower. Instead of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, they only need to show a preponderance of evidence, meaning it's more likely than not that Clark's actions were unjustified. The body camera footage could be devastating in a civil trial. But even if Lambert wins a civil judgment and receives financial compensation, it won't erase his criminal charges. It won't restore full function to his arm. It won't give him back the year he spent in jail awaiting trial. It won't erase the trauma of being shot 3 times in the back. Lambert's life has been destroyed. He has permanent disability, crushing medical debt, and the threat of decades in prison still hanging over him. Cheryl Clark lost her job but walks free with no criminal record. The question remains, is this justice? If this case disturbs you as much as it disturbs me, here's what you can do. Like this video to push it to more people who need to see it. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss updates on this case and others like it. Share this video with someone who needs to understand how broken the system can be. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Cheryl Clark should face criminal charges? Have you ever experienced or witnessed abuse of power by law enforcement? What state or country are you watching from? And would this case have been handled differently there? Cases like this don't get justice unless we keep talking about them. Lambert's story isn't over.